Hey, Phil. Man, how you gonna plead this morning? My guys today. I gotta get that's the whole guy. You're gonna end up falling. Guys, gotta get in. Gotta get in. Hold on.
I hope you enjoyed that 18-second clip of Sam Bankman-Fried entering the courtroom. He was there really to plead whether he's guilty or not guilty on several lawsuits that were against him that had he just pleaded guilty would have been, or he's looking at maximum sentence of 115 years. What does he do? Turns around, says not guilty to all of them. So the question is he going to get the max, or is he going to do something where he gets a reduced amount or gets scot-free? That would be absolutely massive. Like the protest, the overwhelming distaste for this gentleman is unprecedented. And so, we're going to have to see how this plays out. But, that video pretty much shows it all for you. All right. There's a lot of media attention on this, and we're going to see how it plays out. The fact that all this attention on Sam Bankman-Fried has been a positive for a gentleman named Alex Mashinsky, former CEO of Celsius, one of the biggest or largest exchanges at the time, crypto exchanges. Well, the first exchange really to show that there's some massive issues happening in the industry, but behind closed doors or behind the curtains. And he's kind of been able to slide under the radar right now because all of the attention is on Sam Bankman-Fried. Well, not anymore. Let's take a look what's happening with Alex Mashinsky. So New York Attorney General accuses Celsius ex-CEO Alex Mashinsky of defrauding hundreds of thousands of crypto investors in a $20 billion collapse. This was absolutely astronomical and was all set off by the Terra Luna issues that were happening, which then affected Celsius, which then went on to go affect Three Arrows Capital, which then hit FTX, Alameda Research, and which then also hit Genesis. So and Silvergate Capital now is also an issue here. And I want to give some highlights on this article because it's very interesting. So the New York General Letitia James sued former Celsius Network CEO Alex Mashinsky on Thursday, alleging that Mashinsky defrauded hundreds of thousands of investors out of billions of dollars at the now bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange. Mashinsky publicly assured his customers that investing with Celsius was both safer and more lucrative than leaving their investments in a traditional bank. At one point, deposits at the crypto exchange were valued at $20 billion. But Mashinsky's statements were false, James alleges, and became part of his efforts to hide deep losses on risky crypto lending investments. Here's the crazy thing. During the bull run, Mashinsky was everywhere. Every conference, every podcast, any interview. I mean, you say crypto, you would see Mashinsky there. And he would give interview after interview after interview about how safe and secure Celsius is. He would make snide remarks about the banks or any other crypto entity, how he was the smartest person on the block and the best place and safest place to store your assets. If you go onto YouTube, you'll see all of those interviews. It was nonstop. And so that gave people a lot of trust. Like, hey, if you are doing risky investments, you're probably not out there publicly exposing yourself or at least drawing attention to yourself. But because the market was so great, he had this arrogance about him. He thought nothing could go wrong. And boy, did it ever go wrong. And it went wrong in a hurry. Okay, so he was telling everybody anywhere that would put a microphone in front of his face that Celsius was the place, the safest place, not only to park your assets, but to get significant yield on top of that. So it goes on to say, as the former CEO of Celsius, Alex Mashinsky promised to lead investors to financial freedom, but led them down a path of financial ruin, James said in an interview. Absolutely true. Lots of people, I know several, who placed their retirement savings, everything they had on Celsius because they were getting that 6% yield or 6.5% yield, maybe more depending on what other assets they had. So it was very attractive. It lasted for some time. but then the house of cards kind of fell apart as the market turned. So we go on here, it says, but Mashinsky made materially false and misleading statements designed to hide the actual extent of Celsius exposure, claiming that the crypto exchange had billions in liquidity just days before Celsius filed for bankruptcy on July 13th, 2022. This was news to me here. All right. Now, so when entities are going bankrupt, typically they don't have anything on their balance sheet or in reserves. Nothing. That's the whole reason why they're filing for bankruptcy. But what they're finding here is that Celsius actually had quite a bit of billions sitting in liquidity that could have been used to give to customers who could withdraw their funds. Days before, we're not talking about like minutes before, days before that he actually filed or they filed. So they had a bank of reserve or an amount of reserve there that customers actually could have dipped into and not been exposed to the actual bankruptcy portion, but they didn't care. So that liquidity did not go to any customers, and then they filed days later anyway. So all of those assets got locked up in this case or this bankruptcy process, as opposed to going out to customers. So the article goes on to say that Mashinsky never disclosed that Celsius had close to $1 billion deficit. They were in the hole by almost $1 billion. Celsius entered bankruptcy proceedings with only 1.75 billion in crypto assets, a far cry from the 4.7 billion it owed users. This is just a massive red flag. And for anyone who's not aware that not your keys, not your crypto, I'm going to show you the next thing right now. So here it is. This is, if there was ever anything that you ever need to remind yourself that not your keys, not your crypto, which is what everybody says about pushing your assets onto an exchange or letting anybody else hold your assets, this is the tweet for you. Okay. So here's breaking news as of yesterday was that the judge in this Mashinsky case ruled that Celsius users gave up legal rights to their Bitcoin by using the platform, and all the 4.2 billion of crypto assets are now property of Celsius. The judge actually ruled that all Celsius users, whatever your intentions were, whether short-term, medium-term, long-term, as soon as you put your assets on the platform, you gave your rights to Celsius. That's it. They don't owe you anything because essentially now that's Celsius assets. So that in itself is worrisome because of all the things that the fallout that's happened after that. And now, if you're still putting things on an exchange and holding it there, well, you're essentially saying that I'm okay giving it to you, and I understand that legally now there is now precedent that my assets are actually yours, as opposed to being, figurative to a certain degree. Now it's literal. Now it's legal. But those assets are that entities, that exchange, wherever you put it. So look, I'm not saying you don't use an exchange, 100% use an exchange. It's a way to on-ramp to get your crypto assets. But when you get them, you move them off, especially when you're talking about Bitcoin and ETH. The rest, you want to play around a little amount, that's okay. But Bitcoin and ETH, you buy them, you get off. And you put Bitcoin into a cold wallet, you put ETH into a MetaMask or your cold wallet, which is the best case. And then you just play around with the rest of it. Okay. So this right here is highlighting what everyone has always said, but it's always, look, I don't even know who this person is. They're telling me not your keys, not your crypto. Well, I'm showing you right here, right now, that legally you put your assets onto an exchange, they could be defined as that exchange's assets and they don't owe you a penny. So get your crypto into your own possession and make sure that your keys are your crypto.